What is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about why it is important to update your BIOS and what exactly a motherboard BIOS is. And to explain what that is, I'm going to show you this little chip, or these dual chips right here, called M-BIOS and B-BIOS. And basically what those do is they're like memory for the motherboard to tell everything what to do. And the reason why it's important to update this is because when motherboards are built, the set of instructions in that BIOS is only meant to support maybe the thing they know about when they design it, like the current technology with it, or support newer technology that they're already been planning. And occasionally what happens is when technology goes so far, sometimes the BIOS becomes out of date and doesn't know how to talk to the other component. And sometimes you can't even notice it. You're just wondering what's wrong with your computer. So they push out BIOS updates to tell the motherboard exactly what to do. This is the most important. You cannot turn off your system. So once you're in the update process, you've got to make sure it's not raining, it's not stormy, nothing like that that can trip your power. Because if this power goes off while you're updating the BIOS, it's going to brick your motherboard and it will never work again. Because that is basically the set of instructions to operate the motherboard. So, without rambling, we're going to be showing you how to exactly update the BIOS. Now, I took this power supply out of the other system so that I can use this temporarily since I don't have a power supply working with this system. So, we're going to be using this temporarily. Then I'm going to be updating this and configuring this. Let's get into the video. First things first on updating BIOS, you need a USB. I have it already plugged in here. I'm wiping the drive. And then you need to go to your motherboard website. Now this is the make and model of your website. So whoever made your motherboard, say for instance this is Gigabyte, you would, or MSI, whatever you have, you would go to their website, look for drivers and downloads. You go to support, consumer products. Now, this might be different depending on the motherboard website because they're all different, but the instructions are relatively the same. You're just looking for a download or a support driver. What you would do here is you would select motherboard. And I couldn't really find it by selecting the series, but it would be ultra durable, but I guess it would be gaming because it's a gaming motherboard, but I couldn't really find it doing that method. So if you know the exact model of your motherboard, you can click all and just type it in. So the way if you know your motherboard model but don't know your revision because they have different revisions of the same motherboard, you just basically look at one of the corners and it should say revision 1.1. So we know it's a revision 1.1. Or look at the box or manual of your motherboard, the instructions, and it should tell you that. But this would be revision 1.1. So it would be the one at the bottom. You would click under BIOS. So the latest driver would be the one on F8, August 25th, 2015. And it gives you a little description saying it gives you more support for CPU microcode for Windows 10 support with Pentium AEs. So that's just telling you that maybe the CPU wasn't like completely compatible and now it's going to give you more compatibility. But yeah, so what we would do is we would download that one. Now that we got the file on our downloads, all we're going to do is right click on here and click extract all. It's going to download a second folder to your downloads, but what I would do is I would click browse, go to your USB stick, for me it's D drive, and select the folder and it should unzip it to that one. Then click extract. And now you have all the files for your BIOS. So, next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be restarting our computer and launching into the BIOS, the motherboard. So all we gotta do is go to power and restart. Now, depending on your motherboard, before it hits that Gigabyte screen or the launch screen, you want to hit delete. Should pop up the BIOS. Each BIOS is different. So what I did not know is my BIOS is already up to date. I just bought this used, so the user actually ended up updating the BIOS already. So the BIOS is already up to date. Oh man, that sucks. I wanted to get the video on. But what you usually would do is hover over to the Q flash. But you can also do a backup. So say for instance, if you wanted to do a backup, you can also select save BIOS to a drive. So creating a backup could be very useful for, in some cases, if your motherboard has something wrong with it or you need to revert back. All you gotta do is enter Q flash utility. And then just save BIOS to drive. Select your USB. Type in your file name. Select enter. This would look the same as a BIOS update, but in this case, this is a backup. We're going to be backing up the BIOS version to it in case the motherboard has ever gotten, say for instance, an event it gets bricked or it loses something, or we need to reset the motherboard for some reason. This is how you would do it. Exit. Save and exit, and save and exit setup. These are double clicks. I guess I gotta double click it. And it should reboot Windows. But if you were to go back to the USB, you would see BIOS F8 in an unnamed file. That's basically your BIOS. So any event of your BIOS being replaced, or the CMOS battery, the small battery into the motherboard completely dies, you'll have your settings backed up so you won't have to reflash it. Hope this video was helpful for you. Unfortunately, we couldn't actually see it in action, but the concept is still the same. Either way, if you enjoyed this video and it's helped you out, let me know in the comments. Give this video a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next video.